Welcome in to Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, I actually gave a Tank, Dell, and Joe Mixon update earlier on today. I'll kind of just rehash what I discussed in my earlier video. If you weren't able to see that, it is on the channel already, so you can see that after today's live show. Also, I'll be going over 10 free agent targets I think the Texans could possibly target in free agency coming up. And then at the end of today's show, a Texans Today mailbag, so use those hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the program. Welcome in, everybody. I know not the Wednesday live show that we were all hoping today, but it is the offseason. Shout out to my guy, J. Cole, one of my favorite rappers out there. It is the offseason, so we got to get going on some offseason content. Before we do, though, let me know, where are you watching from? Let me know down in the comments section. I know Texans fans, they span far and wide, so let me know. Where are you watching today's live show from? We are in the Chat Sports headquarters located in downtown Dallas, the third best city in the state of Texas. So let me know, where are you watching from? We got Southern Cal, Long Island, New York. Man, we really in Cancun. The funny thing is, the amount of Patriots fans that told me to enjoy Cancun, funny, joke's on them, I'm enjoying Richardson. So, yeah, not quite Cancun. We got Canada, H-Town. Got St. Louis, H-Town, baby. Owen Wong checking in from Cancun. Mad City, Wisconsin. We got H-Town, Harlingen, Texas. Tarkington, Texas. Big DQ says, fuck the Patriots. I agree. Tom Ball. Ghost Knight says, at work. Avery, H-Tine. I'm from Houston, H-Town, Detroit, Michigan. From Joggy de Boss, San Marcos. We got Joyzy in the chat. Harrison Diggs always checking in from the H. Let me know, where are you watching from? I was born and raised in South Houston, League City, Clear Lake area. So that's where I hail from, but I know a lot of people watching from the H-Town area. Condition-based, one of those guys watching from H-Town. As you trickle in, make sure to go down and hit that like button. The more likes we get, it helps us out a ton. And we do have a Super Chat menu on today's show, but I know not everybody can Super Chat. The best way that you can help support this channel, obviously, be here, watch our videos, and then also hit that like button. Comment down below. That helps us out a ton in getting more people into the building so we can have one of the best live shows possible. We got Emmett Johnson. Let's see. Watching from San Antonio. H-Town, as always, from Condition Base. Here we go. You could go now and hit that like button. Super Chat menu, kind of normal on a Wednesday live show for you. Any Super Chat gets you up on screen, guarantees that your comment gets up on the program. $20 gets you a place. We will be giving this away very soon. So if you want a chance to win the Texans Hall of Fame helmet, $20 to get a helmet sticker. The only people that will be eligible to win this are if you have a helmet sticker. So if you want to win this, $20 to get a helmet sticker, and you can obviously put whatever question, whatever comment you want in that as well. And then if we get to $100 in total, I always give this deal, I will do the mailbag with the Texans Hall of Fame helmet on. So if you want to see me make a fool of myself during today's show, obviously, you can. If we get to $100, I will be doing the mailbag with the helmet on. Text 29. See, all of y'all can say whatever you want. Just use the hashtag Texans down below so my guy Chip/Reed can get you up on screen. Let me know down below what you're thinking. But if you do, use the hashtag Texans or Super Chat so I can get you on the mailbag that's going to happen at the end of today's show. Because I want all your voices to be heard. I want y'all to be able to voice your opinion, ask your questions. The only way you can do that, though, is if you put hashtag Texans in your comment, or if you Super Chat. Those are the two ways we can get you up on screen for my producers to make it a little bit easier on them. And see, Avery, that's a good question. You should use hashtag Texans in that comment so we can put it up on screen. Super simple. Super, super simple. We do have another question on tap for you today. I want to know, and you can get fun with this. You can pick anybody you want. Anybody you want. One player you wish was on the Texans right now. Let me know down below in the comment section. I suspect a lot of quarterbacks to be named in this one. But let me know. One player you wish was on the Texans. Could be a former player. Could be a current player. J.J. Watt, I see. Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson from Harrison Diggs. Tyler Algier. That is a poll. You're telling me that's like saying, you know what? We're at the ice cream shop. You can get any flavor you want. And you're like, give me vanilla. Arian Foster, Mahomes. Give me. That's like the Iguodala. One run to save the universe. Give me Algier. He is a good player, though. He is a good player. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Dan Marino, Bijan Robinson. Yeah, I mean, Algier's not even the best running back on his team. Mark Andrews, Jonathan Taylor. What was that, Chip? Or is he? I don't know. Literally any other top quarterback. Jahmyr Gibbs. Malik Willis would have won. Maybe. DeAndre Hopkins. Which DeAndre Hopkins? Now or obviously, hopefully prime DeAndre Hopkins. Amon-Ra St. Brown would be tough. Arian Foster. Yeah. Prime D-Hop. Prime D-Hop. Here we go. We got JSN. Penei Sewell would be a decent one. Hold down the right tackle spot. Enrique Laramie Tunsil. Thing is, I mean, I thought Ariante Ursary didn't do too bad this year. And if you look at the entire offensive line this year compared to last year, this year was better without Laramie Tunsil. Just saying. Logan, thank you for using the hashtag Texans. We'll be able to pull that question later on for our mailbag portion. And I'm being told by my producer, Chip, we cannot start our show unless we get to 40 likes. He is holding us hostage, everybody. We're not allowed to start our show and go into our free agent targets until we get 40 likes on the program. Anointed Stan, that's a very outside the box thinking right there. He said a real offensive coordinator is what he would add to the Texans. Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson wins that game if he's the OC for the Texans. No. Watson would have gotten it done. Maybe. Possibly. And like I said, if you didn't catch my earlier video, I discussed what Nick Caserio had to say around Tank Dell. I'm very excited to have him back. Said he should be all steam ahead for the offseason program, and he's excited to see Tank back out there on the field. So I think, like a lot of us, we are really excited to see Tank Dell back out there. The other news, you talked about Dalton Schultz, should be fine from that calf injury. Cade Stover, good news on him is that his MRI came back negative and looks like he didn't have any ACL damage in that knee whenever he tried to catch that really bad ball by C.J. Stroud. He also talked about Jake Andrews was playing injured for most of the season. And he talked about Joe Mixon. And basically, he gave us more questions than he gave us answers around Joe Mixon. I'll say that. He didn't answer any of the questions around Joe Mixon about anything that's actually happening. He just said it was a unique situation and that Joe Mixon wasn't doing anything reckless or anything irresponsible, which I guess take that with however you may, but we still do not have a clear answer on what is going on with Joe Mixon, whether or not he'll be ready to go for next year. A really weird situation. And I talked, and some people will be upset with me. I saw Texans Cap on Twitter was kind of not throwing shade, but was a little upset that I was discussing a Joe Mixon rumor that has been circulating around Texans Twitter. The rumor is that Joe Mixon was shot in the foot this past offseason, and that's why he hasn't played. I don't have anything concrete to back that up. I don't have anything that is proof that happened. But when I tell you that I've had at least 50 people DM me that is what happened to Joe Mixon, I'm going to talk about it. Enough people, like, I'm not even kidding. for months. For the past 3 months, I have had at least 50, if not probably closer to 100 people DM me that is what happened to Joe Mixon. Now, like I said, nothing concrete that is what happened, and I don't have any proof that that's what happened. But I feel like I would be doing y'all a disservice if I didn't share that information with y'all that, that's what I heard. And I'm not saying that it happened. Also not saying that it didn't happen. But, you can be upset with me if I talk about rumors here on today's program. But at the end of the day, this is a show made by the people for the people. And if the people want to talk about it, I'm not going to let, anybody tell me what I can and can't talk about on today's on this program, because I think that's doing a disservice to y'all. That's basically saying that y'all aren't smart enough to make up your own mind, make up your own opinion. And I don't think that. I think Texans fans are smart enough to put 2 and 2 together to make their own opinion and make their own decisions. And I think more of y'all than that. So some people might not. Some people might think that Texans fans aren't smart enough to come up with their own conclusions. I disagree. I think y'all are smart enough to where I can tell y'all rumors. I can tell y'all what I've heard or what I've been thinking. And, yeah. Simple as that. Trainer, my boy saw Mixon at BMW dealership in Webster back in October, and he said he was limping and looked small, i.e. skinny. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Patrick Doc Holiday. Is that true? I saw a rumor around that. Shout out to P. Ray. I did see a rumor that he was changing his number. Is that true? Yep. Tank Dell will be returning back to number 1. That's what he wore at the University of Houston. Oh! I didn't even see that one. Melinda! All good. Bang! Well, looks to me like CJ will be our QB. Who do you think we will draft in the first round? That's a very good question, Melinda. Actually, tomorrow, that's my video that I have slated to make tomorrow. Is I'm going to give you 10 targets for the Texans in round 1. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into that because 5 of them are going to be offensive linemen. If I was the Texans, I would, unless every good offensive lineman is taken off the board before you pick in the late 20s, I would take an offensive lineman in round 1. 1TZ Cosmo said that is confirmed by Cody. Guessing you mean Mr. Stotts. Let's see. Yeah. Tank Dell. That is kind of upsetting, P. Ray, for me as well, because I actually do have a number 3 Tank Dell jersey. So Stephon Diggs. Well, he didn't play this past year. Tank Dell didn't at all. Yeah, nobody had 1 this year, and guess he's changing it to 1. I mean, not going to lie, 1 is pretty sick, but at the same time, damn, I do have a number 3 Tank Dell jersey. That kind of blows. That kind of blows. Melinda Allgood getting 5 more helmet stickers. Melinda just collecting these helmet stickers like they're infinity stones. And you know what? Because Melinda dropped a $100 super chat on today's show, this is what I'm going to do. Before we get going, a simple way that you can get a helmet sticker as well. I'm going to give away 3 helmet stickers. All you got to do is like the video and type MA for Melinda Allgood because she's an absolute legend. She has been one of the OGs, one of the best contributors, one of the best viewers here at Texans Today. Not only super chatting, she's here at every live show. She always likes the video. She always shares the video. She hits me up on social media. She, reposts all my content. So for sure, Melinda Allgood, an absolute legend here on the channel. Not because she super chats, but because she's always here repping Texans Today. She bought the new Texan Swarm shirt, which you can too. And you know what? I'll say this. I'm going to give away 3 helmet stickers right now. But if you want a helmet sticker on today's show and I don't pick you, if you get a t-shirt, I'm going to give you a helmet sticker as well. We have the new Swarm t-shirts here at Texans Today. Comfort colors, so it's a little nicer material. I'm going to go with, all right, Amanda Pearl. I'm going to go with Anointed Stan. And I'm going to go with P-Ray. You know what? I'll give that's a funny message. I'm going to go with Owen Wong. I'll give 5. Owen Wong, and I'll give 1 more. I'm feeling nice today. I'll give 1 to Vitrad, a.k.a. Texas Vet. But if I didn't choose you, either a $20 super chat or if you want to do a little 2-bird, 1-stone action, get our brand new Texan Swarm t-shirt. If you do, I'll go ahead and give you a helmet sticker for a chance to win our lucky Texans Hall of Fame helmet. It's filling up quick. I would guess probably next week we're going to give away the Texans Hall of Fame helmet on our live show. But like I said, if you want to do a little 2-bird, 1-stone action, let me know. You get the t-shirt today, I'll go ahead and give you a helmet sticker on today's program. Blacklight says, who is the number 1 guy you want to replace in that offensive line? I'm going to discuss it in my free agent video coming up, but I will say this. The answer to that is actually another question. The answer to that question is a question. And the question is, where do you play Titus Howard? If you play Titus Howard at right tackle, then it's easily left guard. If you play Titus Howard at left guard, it might be center with Jake Andrews, but I think Nick Caserio, Cole Popovich absolutely love Jake Andrews. They're all best buddies. So I don't know if Jake Andrews will get replaced next year, even though he deserves some competition there at the center position. And you'll see it by a couple of my free agent targets that I think they should definitely anoint it. I don't hate Jake Andrews. I think he did okay. I think he's just mid. Like Jake Andrews, if you're saying the top 32 centers, I'd probably put him at like 18. Harrison, get Fisher out of here. Yeah, I mean, Fisher's a little Aiden Stackhouse says, hi, Chuggs. What's up, Aiden? Jake is the new Shaq. I don't know. New super chat just came in from my guy P-Ray, which we'll get to it here in just a moment. And then we will do the very first segment on today's program. Blacklight says, happy I interacted with you. I watch all the vids, but where do you like Titus, at tackle or guard more? Blacklight, I love that question. If you could, to help my producer out, could you ask or could you type that again and just put hashtag Texans in the front of it? So I can get you on the mailbag. Because I think that's a really good question for our mailbag on today's show. If you see Owen Wong, that just how he did it, hashtag Texans, and then put that same thing, Blacklight, so I can get you up here on the program. P-Ray says, thoughts on bringing back Noah Brown? I think wide receiver is like one of the least important positions the Texans need to focus on this offseason. Because when you think of it, you have 2 young guys in Jaylinn Noel, Jaden Higgins going into their second year. You have Nico Collins. And then you're getting Tank Dell back. So you have 4 really good wide receivers right there. I would say and Noah Brown, he's been good, but the biggest part with him is that, he's been injured. So I wouldn't really want to re-sign an injured wide receiver. Not that I think he's good whenever he's healthy. He's really good. He was good with this team with C.J. Stroud's rookie season. But I'd rather focus on other areas and maybe, if we add a wide receiver, I'd rather the Texans just draft somebody in like the 4th or 5th or 6th round this year in the draft. Just in my opinion, P. Ray. But appreciate the super chat. We'll go ahead and add this one and also the Melinda one, your other one, into our mailbag portion of today's show. And I did see we got another super chat coming in from Bingo Boop Bop. What do you think we could do to keep our offensive line in line with our defense? Our offense in line. Okay, yeah. Not offensive line. Basically, you're asking, what can we do to get our offense better to kind of match out our defense? And I think it's O-line. I think the one area that you got whooped up against the Patriots, obviously, were the turnovers with C.J. Stroud, but also the offensive line, because the one thing that gets kind of hidden in that playoff game, the one thing that kind of gets swept under the rug is the Texans' run game was non-existent up against the Patriots. Like, there was nothing going on the ground with Woody Marks or Nick Chubb. So, for me, and, C.J. Stroud will get better this offseason, but how much better will he be this year than last year? I mean, we hope he gets better. The one thing to kind of mitigate C.J. Stroud and our worries with him is if we can get a run game. If the Texans can get a good run game, you have the defense. I think more than C.J. Stroud, the fact that the Texans didn't have a good run game this year is really a huge factor in this team, and a huge factor on why this team didn't advance in the playoffs. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm doing good. Sorry, I was just somebody slacked me. Also, I did go ahead and there's in our next segment, there's a bunch of player listicles that I added over from the consolidated. So it's not in the script, but you don't have to go to all of them, but I just added them all in the player listicles. So it's like list 5 stats and some list 4 cats. Oh, okay. Yep. Oh, I see. All right. We are going to get going on today's program. We already passed $100 thanks to my homegirl, Melinda Allgood. So I will be wearing the helmet for the mailbag portion of today's show. But if you want to get a helmet sticker, you can either super chat $20 or my job as CFO never ends. Marsh can't log into DoorDash. All right, we're going to get into the first portion of today's show. But like I said, if you want to get a helmet sticker on today's show, either a $20 super chat or I'm putting the link in there if you want to get our brand new Texans t-shirt. It would help us out a ton if you did get the t-shirt, because then I could make some more t-shirts. I was thinking of making a Will Anderson Terminator t-shirt. Give me a Y for Yes Inferno. Or actually, how about this? Give me a 1 or 2. 1 Will Anderson Terminator t-shirt. 2 a Battle Red t-shirt. Which do you think I should make first? Give me a 1 for the Will Anderson Terminator t-shirt or a 2 for a Battle Red t-shirt. Let me know down in the comment section. I have something kind of mocked up for a Will Anderson Terminator t-shirt, which I think would there's so many ones. He was number 1. That was so dumb. Okay. Jacob says 3. Okay. Joe, hashtag Texans, would you keep the QB coach Gerard Johnson? That's a great question. And it's tough. It's tough because, yes, C.J. Stroud has, kind of gotten worse and worse every single year since his rookie year. But also, Davis Mills looked awesome in those 3 games that he stepped in for C.J. Stroud. So I don't know if it's necessarily Jerrod Johnson's fault. I could definitely see, him being used as a scapegoat and being like, oh, well, we need to get a new quarterback coach in. We need to, change something up in the coaching staff on the offensive side because we know it's not going to happen with Nick Caley. Nick Caserio already kind of came out and said, plan on bringing Caley back next year. But yeah, I would say 50-50 on whether Jerrod Johnson comes back. And nothing to do with, his actual performance. I just think whenever, things go wrong, they're looking for somebody to replace. And it's not going to be Nick Caley. It's not going to be C.J. Stroud. And it's not going to be the Texans offensive line coach. So my guess would be probably the quarterback coach is the next one in line, which kind of sucks because Jerrod Johnson was getting a ton of, looks at possible offensive coordinator jobs after C.J. Stroud's rookie season. And I was like, man, the Texans are so lucky that they were able to keep him. But now it kind of sucks that it looks like he might be leaving. Somebody who could replace him, though, T.J. Yates, former Texans legend, the Yates of hell. All right. We're also really close to 100 likes. If you haven't already, hit that like button. I'm going to put the link to the T-shirt a couple more times in the chat. If you want to get it, Texans, brand new T-shirt, it's chatsports.com/swarm. If you like it, obviously, I don't want to force you all to get it if you don't like the T-shirt. But if you do, it helps us out a ton so I can make more T-shirts and kind of fast-track that Texans Will Anderson Jr. Terminator T-shirt. So let me know if you do get it, I'm going to give you a helmet sticker on today's program as we were just about to get into the first segment, and we did get another super chat from my guy Adam Martinez getting in with a helmet sticker. He said, great work, Chuggs. Do you bring in a vet to compete with CJ? Maybe get the most out of him in that way. The only reason I'm going to say no, Adam, is because I actually think I'd rather the Texans draft a quarterback in like the 4th or 5th round. I'd rather them get a young guy because when you think about it, you already have the vet, right? You have Davis Mills. He's a vet. So I think Taylon Green, that could be an interesting name. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, another interesting name. Harrison Diggs says we already have Graham Mertz from last year. I mean, Graham Mertz is Graham Mertz. I mean, we can definitely get a better quarterback in the draft. Yeah, he's a practice squad guy. I don't see Graham Mertz ever competing for a starting job in the NFL. Nothing against Mr. Mertz. He's obviously good enough to make it to the NFL. But yeah. Paisano says not Mills Mills is a real vet. Come on. Mills, what is this going to – this is going to be like Mills' 7th, 8th year. I mean, how old of a guy do you want? Do you want us to get like a 40-year-old guy? I think it makes sense to get draft another quarterback. Carson Beck. I mean, if he's there in the 5th, 6th round, why not? Why not? But Adam, Joe, y'all got helmet stickers on today's show. Somebody that I would like to bring back at a coaching capacity. And it's funny because a lot, like I wish I could remember who I saw tweet this out so I could give them some credit. But I did see somebody tweet out, C.J. Stroud hasn't been the same since Case Keenum left town. Case Keenum, if y'all are talking about a vet quarterback that could come in and mentor C.J. and help C.J., I'd love to get Case Keenum back on this Texans coaching staff, bring Case Keenum in at some capacity because he's a veteran quarterback. He's a very smart quarterback, and I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I don't think he can play anymore. I think he's a little past his prime, I would say, to put things nicely. But I'd be down to bring Case back to H-Town. Houston legend, Case Keenum. U of H legend, Case Keenum. I'd be down. All right. I think we're ready to get into the first program on today's show. We're going to talk about Texans' possible free agent targets. And, Guys, I'm going to give you all a lot of offseason videos coming up. Get ready. This is just my very first Texans free agent target video. I will probably make a ton more videos on possible free agents. I'll probably pass this video. I'll probably do like top running backs, top tight ends, top offensive linemen the Texans should target in free agency. But I just wanted to give y'all like a quick, my instant reaction of the top 10 guys I would look at in free agency. So I'm going to get into that. I have 5 guys on offense, 5 guys on defense. So that's what we're going to break down on today's show. Mr. Reed, are you ready? Y'all, are you ready? Type me if you're ready to get this show started, because we're breaking down the top 10 free agent targets I'm looking at to start NFL free agency for your Houston Texans. Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, we're breaking down 10 free agent targets the Texans should be interested in this offseason. Now, I'm not saying the Texans are going to get every single one of these guys, or that the Texans, are even going to be interested in some of these guys. But in my opinion, I think the Texans should be interested in some of these guys, because I'm going to break down what I think some of the biggest weaknesses on this Texans squad is, and possibly some free agents that can immediately come in and fix those weaknesses for your Houston Texans. Now, the first name on this list, and it's a running joke here at Chat Sports, that every single show, every single channel here at Chat Sports, all 32 teams, maybe besides the Ravens, are going to have this guy on their list. It's Tyler Linderbaum. He is the best free agent interior offensive lineman available this offseason, and I want him. And I want him real bad, because I really think he would help this Texans front unit out a ton. He is a very talented guy. The Texans, they had an opportunity to go out and get Tyler Linderbaum, but they decided to get Kenyon Green instead. So not that bad of a decision, right? Right? No, it was a horrible decision to not get Tyler Linderbaum. And we do have a couple of those graphics to go to, because Linderbaum, he's been good for the Baltimore Ravens. The problem is they're paying Lamar Jackson a ton of money, a lot of these guys a ton of money. I don't know if they'll be able to keep Linderbaum in Baltimore, but look at these PFF grades from this season. 79 overall, the pass blocking 63.5, the run blocking, and that has been one of the worst areas for the Houston Texans offensive line this season is run blocking, an 83.2 grade. I mean, really good. This year, 79.4, as I said, an overall grade by PFF. His sacks allowed 2. He allowed 1 hit, 23 pressures, and 4 penalties at that center position. He is the prize jewel for free agency if you need offensive line help. And a little tricks of the trade, every single team needs offensive line help in the NFL. Even the best teams in the NFL will probably say, yeah, we'd be willing to upgrade at the offensive line if we could. And I think Tyler Linderbaum would be a massive upgrade over Jake Andrews. The whole thing is, I think he's going to be the top paid center in free agency. You'll probably have to give him $20 million a year if you want Linderbaum's services. Is Nick Caserio willing to dole out that kind of money? I don't think so, but I can only hope, right? I can only hope. If you agree with me, though, do you want to beef up the O-line? Do you want to... I'm live right now on Texans Today. I go live every Wednesday. My live poll is what position do the Texans need to focus on in free agency? 78% say the offensive line. If you agree, hit that like button, because I think the O-line should 100% be a priority for your Houston Texans. All right, next up, let's look at another offensive lineman. And I didn't want to go with just the most expensive guy, the top 3 guys. This is a kind of secondary option if the Texans want to spend a little less money. I'm going to go with Dylan Parham, offensive lineman for the Las Vegas Raiders. Plays left guard, and I think if the Texans' plan is to move Titus Howard back out to right tackle, this could be a very intriguing option for the Houston Texans. Now, not incredible numbers for Parham this year with the Raiders, but he was on a horrible team. When you're on a team that his left tackle, Colton Miller, got injured halfway through the year, and the center got moved over and everything got kind of moved around, you're not going to play well. And if you want to know how bad it was in Las Vegas this year, just search up Brennan Carroll, read some of the stories that are going on in Las Vegas, and then you'll be like, wow, I can't believe Dylan Parham scored in the 60s for PFF with all that shit show going on with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I think he's a decent player. And if the Texans are looking to bring in some more talent, he gives you flexibility. He can play center and guard. I think if you want a lower level, a cheaper option in free agency, he's definitely somebody that I would look at. And I know it said 285 there for his weight. I think he plays closer to around that 300-pound mark. I think he could be a sneaky good free agent option for Nick Caserio if he wants to add to this offensive line in the offseason. We expect that they probably draft some guys, but also, why not do both? Like, por qué los no dos? Add in free agency, add in the draft. And I think Dylan Parham could be an interesting name that the Texans could add in free agency. I'm going another offensive lineman. It's O-line frenzy here on Texans Today because I want the big boys. I want them. I want them. Nobody clipped that. Braden Smith, offensive lineman. And this is a double doozy for you because not only do you sign maybe the best tackle in free agency in Braden Smith, but also you steal somebody away from your competitor in the Indianapolis Colts. He plays right tackle, so he would fit in right there. And with Braden Smith, I just talked about, if your goal is to keep Titus Howard at right tackle, maybe you go out and sign a guard. If your goal is to push Titus Howard and keep him at left guard, well, then why not go out there and sign a right tackle in Braden Smith? This past year, some okay numbers, overall grade of 65.3, pass blocking grade of 71.9, only one sack allowed, which when you think about it, the fact that he had Phillip Rivers as his quarterback and he allowed one sack, that's pretty darn impressive. Phillip Rivers can move as much as my grandpa right now. So the fact that he only allowed one sack in the season and he had Phillip Rivers quarterback that team for, 3 or 4 games? Not too bad. Not too bad, right? Only 6 hits, 26 pressures on the year. I think he could be a decent option. Now, the other part of it with Braden Smith is that he's also going to be a more expensive option for the Houston Texans. Like I said, probably one of the top tackles in free agency. So you would have to break the bank just a little bit on Smith if you want to bring him in. But, Titus Howard, which he's actually not a free agent. He's going to be on the team next year, sorry. Was going pretty quick with my graphics before this, but Titus Howard, he could be a free agent if you cut him. Titus Howard, this is going to be a major question for what the Texans do moving forward because, like I mentioned, where they decide to move him, where they decide to place Titus Howard going into free agency, bam, that's why Reed's one of the best in the business. Shout out to producer Reed. Where they decide to put Titus Howard and where they decide to, keep him going into next year, also kind of behind the scenes stuff, they're also looking at some contract situation with Titus Howard. So will he be a Houston Texan next year? I think so, but, also some interesting stuff to look at there. I think this is going to be the major question mark for this team. And Titus Howard, whether he plays at left guard or right tackle, will kind of dictate what the Texans do, not only in free agency, but also in the NFL draft. So I'm going to ask you folks at home, where do you think Titus Howard should play next year? If you think it's guard, type G. If you think it's tackle, type T. Let me know down below in the comments section. Where do you think Titus should play? Because personally, I think he's a better tackle than he is guard, and I'd rather push him out to right tackle. You have your tackle situation figured out with Titus Howard and Ariante Ursery, and then just beef up the interior. Go get those interior guys. Go get a Linderbaum. Go get a Dylan Parham. That's what I would do. But, if you think the Texans can upgrade at tackle, I could definitely see you possibly wanting to keep him at the guard spot. All right, I've talked enough about offensive linemen. Let's go ahead and talk about another position. Running back. And this is one that we all wanted at the trade deadline, and I think we were all kind of upset that the Texans weren't able to pull off a trade. Now, it did come out after the trade deadline that the Texans were interested in Breece Hall and even, sent over an offer. The Jets, obviously it wasn't enough that they couldn't refuse because they went ahead and refused it. They did not accept the Texans' offer to trade Breece Hall, but he's going to be an interesting name in free agency because the running back market, I think it's on the uptick, right? It's a spot that before not a lot of people really took seriously. Not a lot of people really cared to invest in a ton. But now, I think so. And Breece Hall, he's one of the better running backs in free agency. And dude, having Breece Hall, him and Woody Marks in the backfield as a 1-2 punch is very enticing. This past year on a very bad Jets team, still eclipsed his first season of over 1,000 rushing yards. And every year, he is a dual threat back who can not only run but catch the ball out of the backfield. As you see those past 2 seasons, over 400 and over 500 receiving yards for Breece Hall. I think he's an electric running back, still really young. I believe he's only 26, 27 years old. So adding a guy like Breece Hall could be a very interesting move for your Houston Texans. Now, they could easily go out and draft another running back in the 3rd or 4th round, but you already did that this past year with Woody Marks. So why not get a guy who you know what you're getting in Breece Hall, spend a little bit of money in free agency, and kind of beef up this Texans offense? Because as you're going to see in my next one, I don't have any wide receivers on this list. I think the Texans are pretty good at the wide receiver spot. I'd rather them beef up the O-line, beef up running back, and then also beef up the tight end spot. Cade Otton is my last Texans free agent target on this video on the offensive side, because I think the Texans could definitely use an upgrade at the tight end spot as well. Dalton Schultz had himself quite the year, but he's getting up there in age. He's starting to get into the dirty 30s. So on a last year of his contract where the Texans can save $8 million by cutting him, that is a very realistic option for the Houston Texans. And if they do that, they're going to have to replace him with another player either in free agency or in the draft. And I think Cade Otton is a very interesting choice. You know, been a decent receiving option, and I think he's also a pretty good blocking option for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't know if they're going to want to bring him back in free agency, depending on what they do there with their possible new OC, whoever they want to bring in. So Cade Otton could be a very interesting name for the Houston Texans. This season, only 2 drops. You know, you like to see those touchdown numbers up a little bit, but, you know, you get 2 Cades in one room, Cade Otton, Cade Stover. We're getting Cade crazy in H-Town. we're getting a lot of Cades in H-Town. So I think this could be another good option. Now, there are a lot of tight ends in free agency that we could have picked from, right? You know, also Chigga Okonkwo from the Tennessee Titans is another big name. Dallas Goedert, who did you say? Kyle Pitts is another one. Yeah, there's a lot of tight ends in free agency this year. So with that amount of, you know, surplus at tight end, maybe you could get a Cade Otton on a little bit of a discount, because he's not one of the top, maybe the top 3 tight ends in this free agency class. But as my guy Reed, our producer, he's actually the host of our Bucks channel. Shout out to Reed Barkus. He said he's a pretty good red zone target as well. Big body guy. So I could definitely see the Texans adding in another tight end, whether that's in free agency or the draft. Now, coming up, defensive free agent targets for the Houston Texans. And I know what you're probably thinking, we should just spend everything on offense. We don't need anything on defense, Jeremy. I know, but let's talk about some possible guys that we can add to this historic defense to keep the steam rolling ahead in 2026. Before I give you those options, quick word from our sponsor over at Prize Picks. The big game, it's almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks. Where it feels good to be right, and since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get in on the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Do you miss fantasy football? I know I do. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every week. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections. And for this weekend, before we get to the big game, you got to play these games, right? And, I'm going to be a little bit of a Patriots hater. I don't care. I'm going less on the Drake May. I'm going more on the Stidham. Let's go, Stiddy, because I don't want to see the Pats go to another big game. Let's just put it like that. Also, I have 2 guys in the other matchup that we're going to see. This one was interesting. Blake Corum, 0.5 receiving yards, and it's also a demon pick, which means it's going to be a higher payout. Okay, I'll take the more on that. And then Cooper Kupp playing, against his former team. I'll go more on that as well. You can use my lineup or go ahead and make your own. Just do it with our friends over at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Join the millions of users and sign up today. Download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's go on the defensive side now. This one's a little bit more on the margins, but why not take your biggest strength and maybe make it like a insane superpower? Because I think if you add an interior defensive lineman, somebody who can play that 3 technique, like a John Franklin Myers, I mean, they already can't block the Texans' D-line. You have Danielle Hunter, you have Will Anderson Jr., and then you add John Franklin Myers to that? I think you'll have opposing offenses shaking in their boots. This past year for the Denver Broncos, 7.5 sacks, 39 pressures, 26 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. I mean, that would be insanity. Insanity if the Texans added a guy like this. And, I mean, I know what you're saying, Jeremy. We don't need a guy like John Franklin Myers. Of course we don't need him. That doesn't mean I don't want him, right? Like, look at these numbers the past couple of years. 2 straight seasons with 7 sacks as a guy who plays on the interior is incredible. So, yeah, I would go ahead and look at adding a guy like John Franklin Myers. He might want a certain price tag that the Texans aren't willing to match, but if the price is right, if he's willing to come down to H-Town, I'd be willing to have him. And like I said, I think, yeah, it's not your biggest need. I mean, I think it's probably the least amount of need is your pass rush. Out of every single thing wrong with this Texans team, the pass rush is probably the very last thing that you're thinking about. But if you're taking a strength and making it an even bigger strength, good luck to every other offensive line out there. Now, let's talk about somebody who's not as much of a pass rusher, but a familiar name for this Texans squad, because I think something that the Texans will need is more interior defensive line help, especially at the defensive tackle spot. I'm looking at DJ Reader, a former Houston Texan, and the numbers aren't going to, pop off the page, 11 tackles on the year, but you're losing possibly a guy like Sheldon Rankins. You're possibly losing a couple other guys on the interior. Tim Settle, maybe. You're gonna need a big body. And DJ Reader's a big body, 6'3", 335 pounds. And he's not a guy that's going to get a lot of tackles for loss. What he will do, though, and he's going to help the linebacking core, is he's going to eat up those blocks on the interior. He's going to have where 2 offensive linemen need to try to block DJ Reader. That allows Henry Toto. That allows Azeez Al-Shire to make those tackles and knife through the line into the backfield. And that's what a big guy like DJ Reader gives you. And obviously, like I said, a former Texan. And actually, it's funny, I didn't really mean to do this, but I have 2 former Texans back-to-back. DJ Reader, I'm going to go with Roy Lopez as well, another former Texan on the interior. And everything that I said about DJ Reader, I'm going to need you to Command C and then Command V. That's, for the non-nerds out there, copy and then paste. Same exact thing. Everything that I just said about DJ Reader, Roy Lopez. You need one of those big body guys who's just going to eat up blocks on the interior. That's what Lopez gives you. This past year with the Detroit Lions, 31 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 5 QB hits, 13 pressures. I think he's another decent name. He's much younger than DJ Reader, and I think will probably want a larger contract today. So possibly a little bit out of your price range. But I would be interested in a guy like Roy Lopez. As you see, 2022 was a member of the Houston Texans. Why not bring him back to H-Town and add him to this Texans defensive line? Because I think the interior is definitely going to need a little bit of help for Houston in this offseason. All right. We went around the defensive line. I'm actually going to skip linebacker because you have Azeez Al-Shire. You have Henry Toto. I think those 2 guys will be your starters next year as well. You are losing a couple guys like E.J. Speed. So I don't know if linebacker is a necessity either, because the Texans, most of the time they run a 4-2-5. That's 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs, with Jalen Petrie being like that 3rd linebacker. So I don't really view linebacker as a massive need. I think they could easily just draft another guy in this year's draft and get, add some linebacker help there. I'm going to go to the secondary. Somebody who the Texans just faced. I'm going to go with Jaylinn Hawkins, who currently is a safety for the New England Patriots. And yeah, we saw how good the Patriots defense was. I think, if you can't beat them, why not steal from them? So bring in Jaylinn Hawkins, into the upside down. Shout out to Stranger Things. But Jaylinn Hawkins, I think, would be a great pair on the back end with Kalen Bullock. You tell me you add this to a defense that's already been incredible this year, I'd be okay with that. 72 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. He had 6 PBUs, 4 interceptions this season. His coverage stats are not bad, right? 64% completion percentage when targeted, a 73.4 QB rating when targeted. I think the fact that, you have such a great defense already, adding to it, seems kind of, overzealous of me. But like I said, the same thing with John Franklin Myers. Why not make a strength a bigger strength in your secondary? And you do need safety help. As good as the secondary was, as good as the defense was, I still think adding another safety to this team could help, because Jalen Reed, who was a rookie this year, I thought he did really well, but not sure where he's going to be. And as producer Reed just whispered in my ear, I think a little bit of an injury-prone guy this season, so possibly getting some backup help for that as well in a Jaylinn Hawkins. I think the Texans could definitely use some safety help, whether that's in free agency or the draft this year, because nothing against him, no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade, but I don't want to see Miles Bryant starting at safety next year for the Houston Texans. He's good. He's a good rotation guy. He's a good special teamer on this team, but he shouldn't be a starting safety. If I'm being honest, if I'm being truthful with y'all, I don't think he's at the level to be a starting safety. So we need to figure out that position next to Kalen Bullock for this next season. And that's where I go with my last free agent target as well, Geno Stone. A little bit of a cheaper option than a Jaylinn Hawkins, depending on where he wants to go as well. I think Geno Stone could be another good option for this Texans team. This past year, 104 tackles, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. He could be another guy where, played good for Cincinnati this year. I think could even play better with this Texans defense because, these numbers in terms of tackling, I think he's a good, player in, run support, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks on the year as well, 4 pass breakups, 2 interceptions on the year. The coverage stats, not great, right? 71% completion percentage when targeted, a quarterback rating of 110.4. But I will say this. It's hard whenever you don't have a great pass rush. And the Bengals really didn't have a great pass rush this year. So when you look at that, I think you add Geno Stone to a defense that has an incredible pass rush. Those numbers get exponentially better this year for Mr. Stone. And as I mentioned with Hawkins, I think the Texans sneakily need another safety to add to this team alongside Kalen Bullock, because Jalen Petrie plays more of as a third linebacker than a true safety. Jalen Petrie's awesome, but adding another safety, I think, could definitely help this Texans squad. Here are my free agent targets on defense. If you don't remember, here are also my free agent targets on offense. Let me know. Did I miss anybody? Did I forget anything? Did I leave anything out? Because I will be making a ton of free agent target videos throughout the offseason, because beginning of March, when the tampering period and free agency period begins, and then it's on like Donkey Kong. We're getting it here on Texans Today. That's the end of today's show, though. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at Jeremy Chuggs. And if you made it to the end of today's video, make sure you hit that sub button for free Texans content all year long. Pow! There we go. First video done with the day. We got one more to do. We got one more, which is our mailbag portion of the program. So, if you haven't already, I've seen some people using the hashtag Texans, which I love. Make sure to get your question in. Go down there, use hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the program. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, younger than I thought. Breece Hall's only 24. What did I say? He was 26, maybe 27? Yeah, he's only 24, so younger than I thought. That's even better. Brandon says, we haven't tried Titus at center. Just let him rest, guys. We we've already asked Titus to do so much. We don't need to ask Titus Howard to play center on top of everything else. We don't. Harrison said same age as CJ. I don't know. All right, we're going to get into the final portion of today's show, the mailbag portion. Did we get another? Oh, never mind. Sorry. I thought I saw another super chat, but and a quick reminder, I totally forgot I have to do the mailbag with this on. Oh. No, that would be way. Actually, I'm gonna have to turn on the fan because it gets a little hot in the helmet. I'm not gonna lie. Is this thing on? Oh yeah, I totally forgot. If you want to get a helmet sticker, Melinda gave out some helmet stickers earlier today. You can either send in a $20 super chat that gets you a helmet sticker, or if you want to buy our Texans Swarm t-shirt, I'm putting the link in the chat right now. I'll also give you a helmet sticker if you bought that one, which actually, are you connected to the sales? Can you see if anybody bought it? I need to get in that. I keep on asking Arnold and Harrison. If you want a helmet sticker for a chance to win our Texans Hall of Fame helmet, if you get a t-shirt today, then you'll be able to get a helmet sticker as well. And then I could possibly make that Will Anderson Jr. Terminator t-shirt. All right. I think we have enough questions on the show, so I'm going to get locked and loaded. There we go. I need to get a sip of water before we get going because it is going to get a little hot. I can show you with the shield. Yo. There we go. Is that better? Is that better? Is that better? Yeah? Okay. All right. Getting going on today's show. We're going to answer all your questions, and then we're going to hop on out of here. So let's get into all of your questions here on Texans Today. Today, yeah. Texans Today. And if you haven't gotten your question in, you still have an opportunity. Reed will continue to bring in questions throughout the show. Just like Ricky Cantu did down below. Use that hashtag Texans if you want to get on the program. All right, you ready, Reed? All right, here we go. Welcome in to Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and we've got a classic Texans Today mailbag on tap for you today. Wearing the Texans Hall of Fame helmet due to the amazing Melinda Allgood. All the questions that you see are from our live show, January 21st. We go live every single Wednesday here on Texans Today. If you are watching this live, use that hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get on the show. And all the questions, as I mentioned, are from our subscribers here on Texans Today. All right, let's go into the first question from JM Foots. Hashtag Texans. Should Caserio trade for that Bills wide receiver that the GM trashed? Oh, my goodness. I'm glad you asked that because if you didn't see, it was absolutely hilarious. The Bills, they're looking for a new head coach, but their GM, Brandon Beane, he stinks. Yeah, and I think we have a tweet talking about that from earlier. He kind of threw former head coach Sean McDermott under the bus and also threw Keon Coleman under the bus. This from Joe Buscaglia. Probably butchered that name, but it's Buscaglia. Bills owner Terry Pagula just pinned the wide receiver Keon Coleman pick on the coaching staff and said Brandon Beane was being a team player and that Coleman wasn't at the top of Beane's list. He basically just said Keon Coleman's trash.
The Bills owner just said one of their players sucks, which, stinks for Keon Coleman, right? Like, when you think about him, it's like, bro, do you, like, at that point, you're like, get me out of here. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. If y'all don't want me, I don't want to be here. So, possibly a trade-off. I mean, at this point, what are the Bills willing to give up? I mean, a 6th-round pick, I'd give up a 6th or 7th-round pick for Keon Coleman rather than draft a random wide receiver in the 6th or 7th round. I would do that. But, I think it's really interesting because when you look at the Texans wide receiver room, obviously you're going to be getting Tank Dell back into this room. I don't know if you necessarily need a wide receiver, right? You have Jaylinn Hawkins, who I thought, played decent for this Texans team. You have Nico Collins. Christian Kirk is going to be a free agent, but you also have Jaylinn Noel. So wide receivers not really a, big glaring need for this Texans squad. But I want to know from you. This is a great question, Reed. Good question here. What's your confidence level in the wide receiver room next year with Tank Dell coming back? And shout out to Tank Dell changing his number to number 1. Kind of swaggy. Even though I'm a little upset because I do have a Tank Dell 3 jersey, I definitely will be getting that Tank Dell number 1 jersey. Let me know, though. 1 to 10, what's your confidence level in this wide receiver room? 1, no confidence at all. 10, you think we have the best wide receiver room in the NFL? I'm going with a 7. I'll probably say 7. I think this Texans wide receiver room is going to get better next year, especially with Jaylinn Hawkins and Jaylinn Noel with 1 year under their belt. If Tank Dell can get back to the old Tank Dell, that number goes to a 9. If Tank Dell is anything like he was his rookie season and 2nd year in the league, that number goes up to a 9. But just as is, I'll probably say a 7. And I think the Texans are pretty good at wide receiver going into next year. Melinda, all good. The reason why I'm wearing the helmet, looks like CJ will be our quarterback. Who do you think we draft in the 1st round? Good question, Melinda. I will actually be doing a 1st-round targets video later on. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you can watch all of our videos here on Texans Today. It's got to be an O-lineman, right? Like, I'm saying you go O-line unless there is a can't-miss prospect that falls down to you. If there's if somehow the best defensive tackle or the best linebacker in the draft or, the best safety, I don't think there's any way Caleb Downs would fall all the way to you. But if, one of the best players in the draft falls to you, sure, you take best player available. If not, you got to go offensive line. You got to build up the offensive line. Especially, like you said, if CJ's back next year, you got to. You got to go offensive line. Maybe if the running back, I don't think Jeremiah Love will make it to you either, the Notre Dame running back, but you got to go O-line. You got to go O-line in the draft in the 1st round, Nick Caserio. Please go offensive line. Good question, though, Melinda. Next up, P-Ray. Thoughts on bringing back Noah Brown? I just talked about the Texans wide receiver room. I don't think we need to add anybody in free agency. And Noah Brown, he was good with the healthy, and you already have some injury concerns there at the wide receiver room. Tank Dell being one. Nico Collins has been injured a lot throughout his career as well. So I think, bringing back a guy like Noah Brown, it would be cool, but I don't really see the need to do that if you're the Texans. But good question, P-Ray. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Bingo Bappa coming in with the $5 super chat. What do you think we could do to keep our offense in line with our defense? I just mentioned the O-line. You got to get a run game. When you think of the best defenses and the great defenses that won Super Bowls, they had a good run game, right? The 85 Bears had a good run game. The Ravens in the early 2000s, they had a good run game. You got to get a good run game, and that starts with the offensive line, and then also getting a running back to pair with Woody Marks. I like Woody Marks, but I don't think he can be the feature back. I think he's a good, thunder lightning kind of guy. Why not bring in a Breece Hall? I think that would be a good option. Maybe draft another running back in this year's draft in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round. I'd be cool with that, but I think you need to get a run game, especially like if Melinda said, if we keep C.J. Stroud, we need it. We need a run game. And that starts with the O-line, and that starts with adding more talent in the running back room to pair with a Woody Marks, maybe like a Breece Hall, maybe like somebody in the NFL draft. Thank you for the super chat, Bingo Bappa. Joe, hashtag Texans, would you keep the QB coach Gerard Johnson? This one's tough because Nick Caserio basically already came out and said Nick Caley's coming back next year. Cole Popovich is coming back next year. Somebody's going to be a scapegoat. And unfortunately, I do think that's going to be Gerard Johnson. And it sucks because after C.J. Stroud's rookie season, he was getting offensive coordinator looks. A lot of people were looking at Gerard Johnson, and I still think he's a good quarterback coach. And I wouldn't really blame C.J. Stroud's developmental issues on Johnson, but somebody's got to go. They can't run it back 100%. So it kind of sucks, but I do think Gerard Johnson's going to be the guy that's the odd man out in that situation. We have more questions coming up in just a moment, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsor over on Prize Picks. The big game is almost here. There's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. There's a new feature alert. Prize Picks now offers early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. It's super simple. All you got to do is just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If your picks right, you could cash in just like me. And if you need some inspiration, this is the lineup that I'm going with for this weekend to get into the big game. I'm going Drake May, less. Jarrett Stidham, more. I'm going Blake Corum, more. And then I'm going Cooper Kupp, more. You can use my lineup or make your own. Just do it with our friends over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Here we go. Drew Peacock, hashtag Texans. If they don't start him, the Texans should trade Davis Mills. I don't love that. Why not keep? You already extended Davis Mills for this season. And honestly, for what it's worth, I'd rather keep. I mean, I know they didn't use him in the playoff game, so I mean, what's the point of even having a backup if you're not going to use him? But I like Davis Mills as a backup option for this team. And obviously, he can win you some games. He came in, won 3 games in a row to kind of get you kick-started on your playoff run. No, I'd rather keep Davis Mills, if you ask me. And like I said, I don't think you'd really catch that much in a trade for him, especially with other starting quarterbacks out there like Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, Geno Smith, maybe even as other options in the trade market for quarterback. I don't know where Davis Mills stacks up with those guys, but I like this question too, Reed. Let me know. Will Davis Mills get a chance to start next season? Yes or no? I think it's a no. As much as I hate to say it, I don't think they're going to give if they're not starting Davis Mills in the playoff game after C.J. Stroud throws 4 picks in the first half, I don't think they're giving him a realistic shot to start next year. If they do, that means C.J.'s getting traded. Because no way are they keeping C.J. Stroud as the backup to Davis Mills. I just sucks. I don't think they're going to give Davis Mills an opportunity to start. But good question, Drew. Haziel coming in next. Do you think we are drafting O-lineman in the first round? If so, who? It's a great question. Actually, ESPN just mocked Caden Proctor, Alabama tackle/guard, and I would love that pick. He's super athletic, played at Alabama. We know DeMeco loves his Alabama guys. So I would look at Caden Proctor as a name the Texans could definitely take in round 1 at the offensive line spot. Miami has a couple really good offensive linemen as well coming out, but I think their left tackle is probably going in the top 10. Like I said, I'm going to drop a video of some round 1 draft targets for you later this week. Make sure to hit that sub button, turn on your notifications, because I'll be breaking down my top 10 options for the Texans in round 1. All right, next up, Amanda Pearl. What's up, Amanda? How we doing? Hashtag Texans Chuggs. I think we should do every whatever in our power to trade up for Kenyon Sadiq. He is a game changer and will help CJ the most. Funny enough, my guy Reed was talking about him earlier. The tight end out of Oregon definitely could be a name to consider. I think the O-line is such a big need. I don't know if you can go tight end in round 1, right? Like, I don't know if that makes as much sense with the offensive line being as much of a need as it is. I don't know if, tight end, if it makes sense to go that in round 1. But, I mean, if he falls to you, if you think he's that good of a player and if he's a game changer, maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help as well. The Bubbas, and this might be a reason why they don't do it. Hashtag Texans, are you excited about Brevin Jordan? I am so pumped for Brevin Jordan. And honestly, if he comes out in balls this year, somebody make a movie about this kid. Because 2 straight years, I have named Brevin Jordan as a breakout candidate for this Texans team. 2 straight years, Brevin Jordan has gotten injured the very first game or right before the first game of the season. And it's absolutely heartbreaking because if you ask anybody who's been to Texans practice for OTAs, for training camp, Brevin Jordan's been a standout. He's been somebody who can be a game changer for this Texans team, and we just haven't been able to see it because season-ending injury 2 straight years in a row. So, yeah, the Bubbas, I am pumped to see Brevin Jordan out there for the Houston Texans this season. Adam Martinez, great word, Chuggs. Thank you, Adam. Do you bring in a vet to compete with CJ? Maybe get the most out of him in that way? We were talking about Davis Mills. I don't think it makes sense to bring in another vet behind Davis Mills and behind CJ Stroud. If it was up to me, I would go ahead and draft a quarterback in the middle rounds of this year. Maybe a Garrett Nussmeier. There's a couple, maybe Taylon Green in the later rounds. There's a couple names that I think could be decent options to maybe push CJ Stroud. I know people are saying Graham Mertz. I think Graham Mertz is a maybe career backup. Oh my gosh, Reed just pulled this up. You can push it across. No, I do not want to bring in Kirk Cousins. I would not want to bring in Kirk Cousins as a backup. But I mean, like I said, like you already have Davis Mills. I hate this. I hate this idea. Hate, double hate, triple hate, loathe. I loathe this idea. Would not want to bring in any of these guys. The obvious option is Davis Mills. You have Davis Mills already, so you have your veteran option. I do not want to see Tua. Do not want to see Kirk. Don't want to see any. Leave Geno away from us. I'd rather just draft a quarterback in the middle rounds. To Kirk Cousins. To Tua. No, thank you. Texans fan. Hashtag Texans. Is it crazy that I still believe in CJ Stroud? No, it's not. And every time I see a TikTok or an Instagram reel, and it has that song where it's like, it's like a sad song, and it's like CJ Stroud highlights from his rookie season, a small part of me starts to believe again. And maybe I'll get back to being on the CJ Stroud train. I can't do it right now. I can't wrap my mind around CJ Stroud, being the guy right now. Maybe down the road. I just need some more time to heal, Texans fan, because it's just like that game, this playoff run just took so much out of my love for CJ Stroud because, man, pie in my face. I was a CJ Stroud defender all year long. I was the one telling everybody in the office, no, he's a good quarterback. Trust me, guys. Trust me. And he made me look like an absolute fool. So, yeah, part of me still believes in Stroud, and maybe he turns it around next season, and we have a miraculous run with Stroud, and he completes his redemption arc. Man, it's hard for me to believe right now. It's hard for me to have faith in CJ Stroud. I know DeMeco, Nick Caserio, a lot of people do, and when you look at 3 years in the league, 3 playoff wins, 3 winning seasons, I mean, it's great, but that playoff game has just left the nastiest taste in my mouth, and I just need some time to recoup and to really get back on the CJ Stroud train. But good question, Texans fan. Bob loves Texans. Last question on the show. Hashtag Texans. Okay, I've heard a lot. Oh, you're saying could Nick Caserio draft a quarterback in the second or third round? Okay, I thought you were saying a second or third round for Joe Burrow. Yeah, I agree. No way the Texans are able to trade for Joe Burrow. I think if you offered C.J. Stroud and every single pick that you have the next 3 years, I think the Bengals still say no. I do. They are not trading Joe Burrow, especially like maybe if the Jets offered them 5 first-round picks plus, maybe. But we don't have that draft capital, right? We're picking in the late 20s. Our first-round picks aren't very valuable. Drafting a quarterback in the second or third round, though, is very interesting. We have 2 second-round picks because of the Laramie Tunsil trade. If a really good quarterback falls into the second round, like a Ty Simpson, maybe. Maybe. Good question, though. If you made it to the end of today's show, make sure you hit that sub button for free Texans content all year long. I'll be coming out with more videos here on the channel, more mailbags, so make sure to tune in every Wednesday for our Texans Today live shows. Ooh, there we go. Oh, I can finally take this off. I can breathe. I can see. I can fight. You know what show that's from? No. Fairly Odd Parents. Bengals basically said we are sticking to our plan by signing that Higgins. Yeah, I mean you signed Jamar Chase and T. Higgins basically because Joe Burrow told you to. So I don't think they're getting rid of Joe Burrow anytime soon. Let me know, how long have you been a Texans fan? Small Ed said 20 years since I started watching football in 2005. A lot of OGs here. Hell yeah. Joe ain't coming here from Harrison Diggs. I agree. 30 years from Uncle Caius. 2009 from Anointed Stand. Didn't you say LeBron was the GOAT? Let's see how many feathers. Let's see how many feathers you can. Maybe I think you were saying how many feathers I can ruffle. I do think LeBron's better than MJ. Just saying. I think LeBron better than MJ, and then Hakeem Olajuwon better than LeBron. Oilers. Melinda said, watch the Oilers since 61. H-Town legend. Avery, any interest in Jameis? Seems he'd fit right into the locker room. I mean, maybe as an interesting name. I will say this. One thing that I think C.J. Stroud has got to work on, and the turnovers obvious, a lot of other stuff obvious. So many people were posting about C.J. Stroud's body language and him on the sideline. He's got to stop being a freaking sad puppy dog on the sidelines. And maybe Jameis Winston can bring that out in him. Maybe Jameis Winston can make him a more energized guy on the sideline, kind of bring that out of him just a little bit. But, dude, he needs to step it up and be a leader for this team. Like, he needs to stop crying and pouting on the sidelines and everybody feels sad for me. He's got to stop that. Texans fans, we're tired of that. We're tired of him throwing fits on the sidelines.
Chuggs, if I made a problem or I created a problem or a mistake on the show, I wouldn't pout behind the camera. I'd get back and get that and you know that player bio, the title wasn't right in the background.
You fixed it.
We fixed it.
You fixed it, and I think maybe Jameis can help him with that. I think the biggest thing is Stroud's body language, his ability to lead, and you can say whatever you want about Jameis Winston. I think the one thing he is a good leader. I think every locker room that Jameis Winston has been in, everybody has enjoyed him being there, and he's been able to motivate all his teammates. Maybe a little bit of that rubs off on C.J. Stroud if he does join the Houston Texans. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, that is true. Small Ed is, what did the Texans GM say about Joe Mixon? He basically was like, oh, it was a freak incident, and
it wasn't Mixon being reckless or he didn't jump off a building. He didn't do anything crazy. But he also didn't give us any clarity. He was just like, oh, it's, something, medical that's gotten worse. So I think Caserio, by talking today about Mixon, he raised more questions than he answered around Joe Mixon. Like, we still don't know anything around him, right? He said it was a unique situation and a freak thing that happened. That doesn't help the rumors that he shot himself in the foot, right? And Jonathan Alexander said, tweeted this out. Nick Caserio said Joe Mixon had a medical condition that never improved. And then he said he didn't jump off a building. He wasn't doing anything irresponsible. It was a freak thing. I mean, that still doesn't really answer the question. And then, Caserio said this one is the most confusing of them all. Caserio said the team hasn't seen Joe Mixon. What do you mean you haven't seen Joe Mixon? Does he not? Is he not? I know for a fact he was at NRG for the 49ers game. You have no idea? Yeah, he hasn't even come in for a physical? Like turn and cough? Like, what are we doing? He hasn't been in at all? What kind of BS is that? We have a huge medical team. So much at his disposal. And we know nothing? What, just something is fishy, man. This is, shout out to all my North Texas alums out there. But I will say this. Something that I learned in journalism classes in college was good journalism is whenever people are upset or don't want you to report on a certain subject. And the fact that people, whenever I talk about Joe Mixon or whenever I talked about that rumor, whenever I talked about this, that, or the other, are upset about it, means that there's something there. Means that there's something there that they're not telling us, that they don't want us to know. And maybe that's insignificant. Maybe it is a, unique injury, unique illness, unique whatever with Joe Mixon. But the more that they keep on stringing us along, the more that they don't give us answers, the more speculation and the more rumors are going to fly. And I'm sorry, Nick Caserio did himself zero favors today by talking about Joe Mixon. Saying it's a freak accident, saying it's a unique, what are we talking? Can we get specific? Can we get something? I mean, the season's over. There's no edge to be had by not, saying what's going on. You don't get any tactical edge about, oh yeah, Joe Mixon hurt his foot this way. And maybe you're saying, oh, he doesn't want to hurt his chances for signing with another team, or he doesn't want this, that, or the other. Any team that brings him in, because more than likely he's going to get cut by the Texans this offseason, they can save around $8 million by cutting Joe Mixon this offseason. Any team that goes to sign Mixon, they're going to bring him in for a physical and do a full op on especially his feet and his legs to see what the problem is. So I don't know who Caserio thinks he's helping or saving or this, that, or maybe he wants to, protect Mixon's privacy because maybe there's something else going on. And like I said in my video earlier, I don't have any facts on whether or not, what exactly happened to Joe Mixon, but I think that's the biggest problem. The fact that they won't divulge any information about Joe Mixon whatsoever, that's just weird. I'm sorry. It's weird. Just my opinion. And Big DQ, I agree. Sounds iffy. If you came home to your girlfriend and she was like, "Where are you at?" and you're like, "I can't tell you." She'd be like, "What do you mean you can't?" "No, I can't tell you that information of where I just was." Your mind immediately is going to go to the worst thing. If your girlfriend came home and you're like, "Oh, what did you do today?" She's like, "None of your business." You'd be like, "What do you mean? You're not going to tell me?" You're like, No, not going to tell you anything. You'd probably be like, what's going on? So, yeah, I don't think Caserio did himself any favors or Joe Mixon any favors by his press conference today. And it makes everybody think that something weirder is going on with Joe Mixon. if we're just being honest. And that's what I'm here to do, just be honest. All right, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Shout out to my guy, Reed, for stepping in at producer because I could not stand having Jack on the 1s and 2s today after the Patriots won. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So can we get some reads in the comment section? He spells it R-E-I-D. So can we get some reads down below in the comment section? Shout out to my guy for stepping in on the 1s and 2s to help our live show. We had a lot of stuff going on here at Chat Sports, so we started a little bit late, but hey, better late than never is what I always say. I know when it stands giving you a quick shout out with the reads down below. Like Andy. Shout out. Oh, Yoda knows you. No, Yoda knows you. All right, that's all we got on today's show, folks. Like I always say, if you want to follow me on X, Twitter, you can do so at Jeremy Chuggs. And if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, kind of weird. Kind of like the Joe Mixon situation. So let's change that. Go down and hit that sub button. Join us every Wednesday for our live show. And we got more shows coming out throughout the week, and it's off season. So we got a lot of videos coming up ahead of free agency, ahead of the draft. So stay tuned and make sure you're tapped in.